Welcome to the Traveling Professors. I'm Professor Bob.
And I'm Professor Sheri.
And together we are
the Traveling Professors.
Welcome to show number 118 of the Traveling Professors. Sheri and I are going to take you to the town of Acanceh today, as well as the cenotes of Santa Barbara, to do a little swimming. Now, we were supposed to go to Mayapan to see the Mayan ruins there, when they have an observatory very similar to that of Chichen Itza, except it's a little more on the square side. But there was a problem between the locals and the government, and so the locals shut it down, and we weren't able to go and visit. So it just gives us an excuse to go back and visit a little later on. Well, let's see where we're going on our map. So here's our Yucatan map. Acanceh is not very far from Mérida, 20 miles maybe, and so it's going to be located approximately in this position. And then the cenotes of Santa Barbara will be, they're a few miles away from that. Although that road going from Acanceh to the cenotes is pretty rugged. And then here is a map showing our Maya temple areas. And so we were going to go to Mayapan, and so you can see the journey is a little shorter to Acanceh. And then, of course, it would have been a little bit along in here where the cenotes are located. So we come in the town. This is our first stop. It's about half an hour or so drive. So we come into the town square area. So this is kind of the headquarters of the town. And then here's a view out on the plaza. And this whole region is known as the Plaza of the Three Cultures, and I'll show you that in just a little bit. But on the inside, when you get into the little area where they have dancing and other things, they have the statue. You see the deer on top of it. Well, the reason we have the deer is Acanceh translates to groan of the deer. So this is kind of their totem animal for the town. And the town was originally built by the Mayans 300 to 500 AD. Now, most of the area that we're standing on in this plaza is, of course, would have been like Chichen Itza with other temples, but they've been removed with one exception. So in this picture, you see why they call the area the Plaza of the Three Cultures. You have a Mayan temple on one corner, then you have the chapel of Our Lady of Guadalupe, and then you have the church and convent of Nuestra Senora de la Navidad, which is the Our Lady of the Nativity. And it's really interesting to have that juxtaposition of the church on one side and the Mayan pyramid on the other. Now, of course, the language in this town is most of the Yucatan speaks Mayan. Obviously, they know Spanish, but they know Mayan as well and use it frequently. And frequently, it's on the signs. So we had about 20 minutes or 25 minutes to wander around after we took a little tour. The little tour took us through this building right here, which is the market, the Mercado. And outside the market, you had people selling all sorts of things. Here's a nice little display of beautiful handmade clothing from the people. And this is like the fourth day we're in Mérida. We really hadn't explored much as far as shopping is concerned. And hindsight's always 20/20. And even though I give the advice, when you see something you like, buy it, we didn't follow that. And so there are a couple of dresses that Sheri would have liked. We never saw anything like them back in Mérida. And then you go inside the building, and it has the stalls for getting meat, vegetables, all sorts of things. You name it, it's in there. And our guide then purchased us all samples of what the average worker would eat for a snack or whatever in mid-morning, mid-afternoon, and a little something at noon. And then after we'd gone through the market area, then we were given free time. I didn't think it was enough to see both of the attractions that I was attracted to, so I sent Sheri to the church, and I went to the temple. So here is the front shot of the church. This is Our Lady of the Nativity. The church was built along with a convent in the 16th century, mid-16th century. What you see now, if you take a little picture of the side, this is a 19th century, early 20th century reconstruction. And the paint color that you'll see, and that you will see all over the Yucatan, is known as Itzamal yellow. Now, on the inside of it, it's very plain. I know frequently we go, they got all the gold from the Aztecs and the Mayans. Now, that went back to Spain. They pretty much a standard regular church on the inside. It's not much different from the church there that we were in Mérida, the cathedral. So you have the altar, you have the confessional, And then they have several of these around the church, which are these beautiful paintings. This one shows Christ preaching from the boat on the Sea of Galilee. And then we go back outside, and then here's a view of the brick buttresses that hold up the wall. Now, I went across the street, and here in this little chapel, which is the chapel of Our Lady of Guadalupe, which you'll find almost always a chapel to her somewhere in every town. But they were doing some sort of service, so I didn't get up to it and take pictures of the inside of it. But right next door, and I mean right next door, is this, the pyramid. It's about 10 meters high. They have been doing significant excavations to it. It has different layers that they've opened up. And this picture where you can see the awning over it, that shows an older temple where they have some of the masks that were still there. And my understanding was some of them still had the original paint on them. But it wasn't very much to go in and visit, but the time was an issue. If I can't go in, I'm better at taking pictures and saving time. If I get involved, I would have probably climbed the pyramid, which they would have let you done, and gotten into trouble. So I just took pictures as close as I could get. So here's one of them, which shows the wall that separates the little chapel of Our Lady of Guadalupe from the temple, probably Tlaloc. And then this is a view from kind of the front that I could get shooting up to the side. So it was a brief encounter, but it was interesting. I think you would have probably stopped here anyway, even if you'd gone the Mayapan. That's kind of what the guide had said, that this was just simply on the way to Mayapan, and that we just spent a little bit more time there. Well, before we can go to the Santa Barbara Cenotes, we need a little discussion of how those things are made. Now, I grew up in southern Missouri, where you have all sorts of springs and sinkholes and all kinds of stuff, and it's known as karst topography there along the Ozark Mountains, the border of southern Missouri and Arkansas. And you'll find this just about anywhere where you have lots of limestone. But 65 million years ago, it's believed that an asteroid hit this particular spot that you see in the blue circle, and that supposedly is the one that ends the dinosaurs. In reality, there are more than one that are hitting at the same time, including one that created the island of Iceland, which is a meteor that actually went into the North Atlantic and hit the North Atlantic fault line where the continents were spreading apart, creating a gigantic volcano. Iceland is exactly 65 million years old. We've seen other places where there are craters. But in this case, the area that is the northern Yucatan, that you can see in the yellow and the light green and the little orange, that was underwater at the time of the impact. So it didn't hit solid land, but it did hit land. And remember, the ocean levels were hundreds of feet higher than they are now. The impact of the asteroid just shattered the limestone, so that when it rose, we have all of these cenotes and all sorts of different things. Now, if you go to the darker area that you see on the map, that's a highland area. They don't have any cenotes. They don't have any underground rivers. As a matter of fact, most of the Mayan cities that are in that region, they don't have a cenote for water. They have to create catch basins to catch the rainfall. So they have cisterns all over. And when we go to Uxmal, I'll show you what those look like. And then if you're looking at karst topography, typically on regular landforms, this is what you would see. Anywhere you had water seeping into the ground, it then erodes the limestone, and you get all sorts of caves, stalactites, stalagmites, all sorts of different things. Some of them have rivers, some of them have waterfalls in them. But the cenotes in the Yucatan are unique. Now, where we are going is approximately right here on the map. And you can see that it's this fringe area of the impact. And then you see up in the northern area, they're just everywhere. They're not all going to be beautiful. They're not all going to be available to climb into. But everybody is trying to turn them into a profit. But we're going to see the spectacular Santa Barbara cenotes. Well, here's the map for the Santa Barbara cenotes and restaurant that they have. Now, we had a package deal. We had paid, the tour group to bring us down here, and that included everything. So you got to go to all of the cenotes, you had lunch, everything. Okay, so it was all inclusive. And I think it would have been, if you went here on your own, drove in on your own, it would have been, I think, $35 or $40, maybe $45 at the most per person for everything. And I think Sheri and I together paid like $150 for all of the transportation and everything else. So you come in up here at the top where you have A, B, and C, and they will then have a locker for you if you want to change your clothes, get into your swimsuit. You can then lock it up. And in the case of our guide, I mean, we had the van. I think there were 8 of us or 10 of us in the group. And so we just put our leftover clothes in the van, and the driver stayed with that. And then you come out, and everybody, whether you're going in or not, everybody has to have a life jacket. They were really excellent. They were brand new. They fit really well. Then we come to a little problem. I'm not really a swim guy. I do wading, but if you take me someplace where the water is well over my head, I'm not that kind of person. So I have a swimming suit on, and I have swim shoes, but I'm going to be the cameraman. Sheri's going to be the fish. She's going to be the dolphin in all of these cenotes, and she has a wonderful time. So you can get to the cenotes, and you really need to go 1, 2, 3, and then up here at the top for 4, because they kind of start off with an easier one, kind of a regular, and then it gets really good, and then it gets really awesome, and then it gets spectacular. They have a little train that can drive you down here. They weren't using the train the day we were there. We had a little bus. So the bus will take you down. You could walk if you wanted to. If you wanted to ride a bike down, they had bikes that you could rent. And so we then end up going to number 1, and then we will walk to number 2, and then go to number 3, and then come back to the little center area here and get back and head up to where we eat. You can actually eat here. They have snack shops, and you can get alcohol pretty much everywhere you want to. So here is Sheri.
Hi everyone, Professor Sheri here, and we are at a series of 4 cenotes at this site, plus we'll be having lunch here. We were supposed to be able to swim in a cenote earlier last week, but it got canceled on us. So I don't know how cold the water is. I'm going to find out. I suspect Professor Bob, who's there behind the camera, will be sitting and watching me, okay? Because he's not really a big water baby. I wish you all were here with us. Wouldn't that be fun? We'd have a big, big fiesta. But until I see you later, adios.
Well, our first cenote that we're going to is Cenote Cascabel, and it's all the way down very end right here. So we get off of our bus and just walk down to this location. Here's the sign, and then this is the entrance. I had no idea how the entrance was going to be in these places, so I was a little bit concerned. So you go up, and when you get to what looks like the tree, here's the steps. And they had nice steps. They had good rails to hold on to. But when you get down to the bottom rail here, you have to go and duck. It's about a 4.5 or 5 foot hole. And you then go in to the cave area, because this one is completely enclosed. And then there is a set of steps that you walk down. So here's the view once you get down to the steps area. When you get a little closer, they have this peninsula that juts out, and the people can go in from either side or the back of it. Now the whole thing is 26 meters long by 24 meters wide, and from the water to the ceiling is 10 meters. So we continued going down. Now remember, I'm just going to take videos. And so here is Sheri beginning to float away. Now there are areas where there are caves underneath here, so it's not something that they really suggested that you should do, but you could. The water depth here is about 18 meters, and it's going to be deeper if you were going to the cave areas. And then here's a look back up where we came in. So here's this set of steps that go up, and the entrance is right over here. And then here's another view of the people floating around. And Sheri said that it really wasn't cold. It was a good temperature. And so we climb back up the stairs, ease our way out the opening, and come back out into where we had begun. Now our next cenote, we just simply go up the path to number 2. And number 2 is Cenote Chaxlan. A little sign there that says the cenotes. And then here is a view overlooking the entrance. So this one is not completely covered. So this one has an opening to the sky. And here's the view looking down. You're going to have to climb down. But again, it's the same system. It's a series of wooden steps with good handy holds going easily down. Now, this is not wheelchair accessible. Only the very last cenote is wheelchair accessible. But the one before was a little bland, a little boring. This one is not. This one is full of stalactites and other vegetation. So here we are down on the deck again, and then you can see that you have different entry areas. You notice they have a rope that goes across here because this one is a little bit different. Now it has, again, it's 10 meters from the water to the opening at the vault. Visibility in this water is up to 40 meters, and it is 40 meters or more in depth, and there actually has 2 cavern zones in here as well. So here you can see people swimming around. This were not a lot of people there, but it would certainly hold plenty of people. And this is beautiful. I mean, look at the picture here of the stalactites from the ceiling. And sometimes you'll have roots growing down through the ceiling. They always trim them so they don't get the water. There's another view of the stalactites, and they have a couple of light openings that they've bored in. And here's Sheri over by one of the cave entrances. And again, here's another view of the whole area, the whole cenote area. And once again, here's a little video. So we begin climbing back up and then walk out and head down to the next one. So we're going from 2 to 3. We're heading to Cenote Zoc. So here's the top of it. Here we are getting ready to go down. This one is different. This one is carved down through the rock. So here's Sheri ahead of me walking down the rock steps to the opening. And you see the little tunnel that they've manufactured to get into the area. And this one is a stunner. It's almost as if they start you off with a simple one, and then it gets a little better, and then they hit you with this one. It is just gorgeous. Now, this one is the same as far as anything else. It has 40 meters of visibility in the water. The top 2 meters is a kind of bluish color, and once you get below that, it's crystal clear. Then once you get into the opening, look at this view through the ceiling. That is a gigantic poplar tree, and those are its roots that are coming down towards the water, which they cut them off every so often. This one I would have been really tempted to have gone into, but had I known it was 40 meters deep, it would have certainly stopped me. And they have, steps that lead down into it, and it doesn't necessarily just dive off, but there is a little bit of range. I sat with another gentleman, and he was the lifeguard. So I guess there's a lifeguard at all of these cenotes as well. And so we just talked about different things. And here's a view out in the center, the people floating around, and then a view off to the right-hand side, and you see another one of the access points into the water. And then here's this picture of the beautiful tree through the top, and then we have a little video as well. So here we are heading towards the exit. The exit is just to the right of where this lady is. So there's the entrance exit, and there's the view of the stairs going up. And so we have to catch a little ride on the bus and head back to the beginning, because we're going to be in this particular area next. And that is where they have the restaurants and other things. And I would say that, we wish we'd had some waterproof camera. And so we're glad that I didn't go in, and we're going to get waterproof cameras and go back the next time. That was a nice thing about not seeing Mayapan. That gives us an excuse to go back out here again. So when you get to the last one, and it's called Cenote Pool Kokum, there's an overlook. So here we come, and we head out towards this overlook, and then here you'll see the platform. And this is almost like a little river that runs through. And so here's the view off to the one side, and here's a view of the topography. And this one you can get a little bit of a more distance. It is quite long. This whole area runs about 30 meters. It's 30 meters wide and 30 meters in length, and some areas are 15 meters deep and some of them are 40 meters deep. So then you go around, and this is how you access it. There are two access. One is a nice walk down, but they do have an elevator so that if you're handicapped, you can do that. So here is Sheri standing waving as we're heading to the bottom, and the elevator comes down right over here on the left hand side. You can just see a little bit of the door sides, and then here's a view from the edge of the platform. There's the little pool that's right here. This little pool is the one that's 15 meters deep, and then you have kind of this lazy opening out into the main area that then goes east and west. So here are the people getting down into the water, and there's another view. Get a little bit of the gap here, and there's Sheri way down here at the end. And of course, we have to finish up with a little video. I think Sheri was in the water about 2 hours, 2.5 hours, something like that. And then after we finished this one, we went back up and headed over to the restaurant and had our lunch, late lunch. And then it was time to go back to Merida. And so that was our trip to Acanceh and the Santa Barbara Cenotes. Sheri and I hope you enjoyed the tour. Please come by our YouTube channel at Bob Packett, and please subscribe and leave some comments. Thank you very much. I've been doing podcasting on history for over 15 years. I've got over 4,000 shows, and I've done CDs, which of course can be sent out as USBs. So if you would really like to get more on history for free, then come by my website, as you see here, historyaccordingtobob.com, and see what's there. So thank you very much again.